Hey guys, Coach Nicholas here. Today I want to show you guys a coaching session I did earlier that does a really good job exemplifying why people struggle to carry their games and why ultimately a lot of games might feel hard for you to carry, why you might feel that you have low impact in your games. If you want to get coaching from me, I'll leave a link down below to the coaching program I'm part of. Or if you want personal coaching, I'll also include my Discord so you can reach out. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the coaching. Execute and it'll always work. Not always work, but it works very commonly for me. Level 1 into all mage matchups or matchups where I'd like them to push level 1, I would just sit behind this wall and not show until you have to walk up to get your minions. And the reason for this is because a significant amount of the time, this will prompt the enemy champion into just autoing the wave early.
Right.
So, and as well, I really don't like the idea of hitting the wave early into Azir. If you're getting to like wave 2 and Azir is only last hitting, you can theoretically push and bounce. That's absolutely viable. But it just makes no sense to me to hit the wave level 1 because there's always a chance that Azir is just going to auto level 1 and push to you, and that is best case scenario. If Azir pushes. So assuming that Azir isn't going to push and that we have to bounce the wave, you're just gonna miss out on a bunch of times where Azir does push. Alright.
See, I just figured I could bully the guy out because I figured I was way stronger level 1 than him.
Yeah, but this doesn't really have any benefit. You know, like what's the benefit we're getting here? Even if you wanted to bounce the wave, let's say you wanted to bounce the wave, what I would do is push this much slower so that the wave 2 meets in the middle, because then on the second wave you actually can use your level 2 advantage. But what are you going to do with your level 2 advantage here?
Go ward raptors.
Exactly, right? You're not, even if you land an E, you're never going to be able to do anything from this wave position.
Right.
And if Azir plays it properly, it's not even going to bounce out to us, because if he takes the wave quickly under tower, it's just going to return to a neutral state.
Right. I don't even take E level 2 because I'm like, I just need to crash the wave. I'm going to take W, so I better push.
Yeah. So yeah. Like, I'll say it like this. D4 is still an elo where my primary objective is just to maximize my uptime.
Right.
I wouldn't mess around too much with you know, pushing the wave, especially into a champion like Azir, where the idea of the matchup is so simple.
Right. The idea is just get on top of him and
exactly, yeah. If you just have the wave on your side, it just makes the lane so easy. Right, let's go back here. So yeah, we have the wave, you know, more neutral. Land a nice QE here. Well played. You can go for this. What I would recommend from this position is honestly just, I'd much rather just crash the wave here.
And then dive him after?
Exactly, yeah. Just wait for your E to come up. You're going to just be able to, like, 1 for 0 under tower very easily here without even, you know, getting low, without having to blow. Yeah. Exactly.
I cannot believe that E didn't hit him.
Yeah, very close. I honestly don't. I like how you threw the E here. I think you played it quite well. It's, yeah. Yeah, well played. So you end up crashing the wave. We take our base. Looking at the game, Draven's in quite a, I mean, somewhat even position. He has 9 CS for some reason.
He's been boxing. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse.
All right, I'm excited to see that. So we'll take a look. Yeah, we're doing quite well in the 1v1. All right. We come back. The wave's in a really nice spot here. Okay. So a few things about the situation. First of all, QE is great. I don't necessarily mind the W too much either. Probably what I would do here is just my main problem with this trade is that it just clears too much of the wave.
Right.
So with the W and all the Qs, we end up clearing out the wave too much. um, which really causes us to like if this play doesn't fail, we just kind of kill that freeze. So what I would do here is if you're going to go for the all-in, what we need to do to execute better is we just shouldn't queue back at this point. It makes no sense to queue backwards. The
Right.
idea into Azir is that, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but if Azir tries to E to a soldier, it gets blocked by any champion that's standing in between.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what you want to do here is instead of queuing behind him like this, you just want to stay in front of Azir.
So you
And
can't
kind
get out. I didn't know that about
exactly.
Azir.
Yeah.
I haven't played too much against Azir
Yeah.
in lane anyway.
Yeah,
Where
that's
it's
completely fine, right? But so yeah, what we would want to do here is just QE, Q to the other side here, and then just like run him down the lane, staying behind him
right.
so that he can't E out. And ideally without killing as much of the wave.
Right.
Because yeah, like if we didn't clear as much of this wave, we'd be able to now just like hold a freeze, and this guy would be completely screwed. Very close there. Yep, we have to take our base. I don't mind this at all. All right, so Drake is up. To be honest, I really wouldn't mind. Like, what I'd love to do here, coming out of base, is already just be calling this Drake.
You wouldn't go for 6 first? Because I wanted to move for Dragon, but I wanted ult first.
No, you'd of course like come back to lane, but I would just already in this low state
okay.
be calling for this Drake.
Oh, you'd be pinging it. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Just because of how much stronger you are than Azir at this moment, we really just want to start using that strength. Like, this is how we win games on Irelia. You know, we don't win games by like okay. Getting your lane, killing your laner gets you strong enough to win objective fights that win the game, right? So like killing your laner is part of the process of winning the game, but you're not just gonna win the game by killing your laner 3 times. You have that's
Right.
when we have to start like translating that lead. If we're talking about the execution here, love the behind D, but what I would say about this again is, first of all, I don't like the W. Like if we're thinking here, what does the W actually provide in terms of value?
62 damage.
Exactly, right? And what's really important, what I want you to keep in mind here is this is 62 damage when we can be auto-attacking. Right? This is not 62 damage when he outruns you and you're out of auto-attack range and you have to W to finish him off.
Right.
Because that 62 damage has value. But here, each auto-attack does 110 damage. Right? So the auto-attack is quite low value. And as well, keep in mind here, what you would want to do is auto-attack him. And normally, yes, you want to Q when he gets out of range. But in this specific case, you want to Q when he puts down his W. Because again, you want to get behind him. Right? So auto, when he Ws, now I would Q, go to the other side of him so that he can't E out here.
Right. I wish I had known that about Azir. That would have made this matchup like even more free.
Yeah, absolutely.
I honest to God just did not know that about Azir because I haven't played as much mid as I have top. How many times did you say you've seen an Azir top?
Yeah, absolutely. You know? And so this is where killing Azir is great, right? Killing Azir is great. We're getting really strong. Azir is getting fucked, but we're now not going for Drake, and this is the primary way that we. The word I use is progressing the game, right? We're not progressing the game by killing Azir. We're progressing the game by taking this Drake. So what I would, again, going back to that low state, this is fine. I would have done nothing differently here. Maybe a little bit of the execution stuff. But now just using that low state to realize, oh, we have to go for Drake. Sejuani was on that bot side. I'm getting 6. I really want to contest that Drake.
So would you even freeze here, or would you just push and ping Dragon?
I mean, if you're not going for the Drake, I would freeze. But what I would do is after I kill Azir, I would just one-shot this wave, kill the next wave, Sejuani's on Drake, and then you just move and take Drake with Sejuani.
Right.
Okay. Nice. I really like this this situation that we have going on here. Just be patient here. You have
Yeah,
that really
I don't
nice
have
bridge set
E,
up with the minion thinned. Just wait for that E, you know. This is absolutely a
and
kill if you just wait 4 seconds there.
yep.
All right. The problem is now, and the reason why this is going to get hard for you to translate this game is, let's say all the way back here, we took this Drake.
Right.
What would be really nice is that if we use our strength as strong Irelia to take this Drake, we have R. It's 2 minutes to grubs. So what we can do is we can take this Drake, come back, push the wave, reset, come back to lane, and then we're going to be strong enough to actually then contest grubs as well.
Right.
So we can have both. But now, because, and that's the value of taking a really early Drake, is because you can actually get both Drake and grubs. But now, we even used our ult before grubs as well. Now we're going to have a hard, exactly, we're going to have a hard time translating this lead because we don't have that ult for some kind of fight here. And also, we're going to end up trading either grubs or Drake, which is not really a trade that you want to make a lot of the time. If you can avoid it. You know, sometimes you have to make that trade, but if you can avoid it by taking an early Drake, it's really nice. Let's take a look at the execution here. What I would say here is there's not really a rush to use your E.
Right.
The two occasions that I would use my E into Hecarim are either he's Eing me, because what's going to happen is if he E's you, watch when he E's you, he gets stunned.
Right. He self-CCs.
He self-CCs, exactly. It's the same with Yone Q3. Like into Irelia versus Yone, I really think about having intention with my E when he Q3s.
Right. I do the same. I know this is like mid versus top. I do this a lot versus Riven, where I'll just wait for her Q3.
Yeah.
And then I'll E.
Yeah, that's a great example of that as well. But yeah, that's where I'd really try and have a little bit more attention with the usage there. I don't think it was too bad otherwise. You know, I don't mind it in terms of a limit test if you feel like you win that. I have absolutely no problems with that. And we get our Bork as well. All right, so we come back here. We can shove this out. This is where, again, I'd really heavily be pinging on these grubs. I would not move bot here. This doesn't really make too much sense to me. Well, okay, it does make sense if we understand your mindset, which is you're not using your low states to really understand how we win this game as Irelia, which is fighting around grubs. All right, so it kind of makes sense the way you're thinking. But from like a bigger picture in hindsight, this hover doesn't really make too much sense, does it?
I was just thinking that bot lane is a bloodbath. There is a pretty big chance that they're gonna fight again. So if I move now and I just like watch before the wave crashes, maybe something. But then Alistar is broken top, so I think it's bad no matter what anyway.
What I would absolutely love to do is just with this push, hover here, get a nice advanced ward in this bush, and this is gonna make it so much easier for you then to contest the grubs. We wait for Sejuani to do her full clear. We keep mid-prio, taking board trades. And then, when Sejuani's in position, we just fight for these grubs with R.
Right.
That would be my game plan. Nice, we move over. This is just a very weird play, I would say. Because again, what I want to do here is I just want to move back mid. Just move back mid. Take this next mid wave and play the grubs. So it's actually, you know, already watching this first 10 minutes, it's very obvious why you're the elo you're at. You have a good knowledge of your limits. You have a good mechanics, but you're not calibrating the low state, and you're not thinking big picture. How do I win this game?
Right.
All right, we come back.
Thinking if we kill the Hecarim, it's easier to get grubs, but I should just.
But the thing is, you want to fight Hecarim on grubs, right? You want to take this next mid wave, just so you make sure you're getting all your minions. You're not, you know, losing a wave for free. And then we want to fight on the grubs. If Hecarim comes in, that's when we fight.
Yeah. Then there's no Fog of War. There's no turret.
Exactly. Yeah. And this thing, what I really want you to think about here is the net difference in this play, right? So we die 0 for 3, Think about the difference. Dying 0 for 3 versus 3 for 0 and getting grubs. Right? The swing there is massive. And to be honest, that is the difference in a hard game. If you have a losing top, a losing bot, that's the difference maker. That's all it takes to win or lose the game. Like setting up this freeze, killing a Zare again. None of this has any impact. Even if we kill a Zare here, this doesn't have a massive impact on winning or losing the game. Killing a Zare, getting strong enough, and then rocking up at this grubs fight and killing 3 of them, that's where we win the game.
Right. I'm so much more ahead.
Exactly. That's how we progress the game. Okay.
Yeah, the start of this mid game was very rough for me. I felt very lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just play for objectives.
To be honest, these 2 deaths from my personal reviews would have been end of review completely. Okay. And you can see, like, the funny thing is now, in those first 2 skirmishes, if we had played it a little bit better, we're just completely unkillable. You know, we're so far ahead of the enemy champions that we're just god mode in those skirmishes. Now, we actually are not really, like, that strong compared to the Hecarim, compared to the Pike. And all of this time, now we're 100 CS at 14 minutes, right? And that's a disastrous point to be in for the Irelia. Nice, we pick up another kill on the Azir here. Drake is up. This is where I'd really love to... I mean, this Drake is going to be a lot harder to contest, to the point where, like, if you had won that fight on the grubs, if you hadn't died those few times, you would be strong enough now to just straight up contest this Drake, right? But when we take a look at now, you're not really that much stronger than bot lane. You're not really that much stronger than Hecarim. So translating our lead is a lot more difficult. Beautiful. Yeah, like, I can tell you have a lot of the execution, right? And that's what I really like. What I love here that I don't see enough Irelias do is just the dry Q. Like, that's a super high level mechanic that I don't see enough Irelias do. So I think you executed this really well. Nice, we base, we get our hull breaker. At this point, I would 100% just want to take this bot wave and then, sorry, this mid wave and then move into bot. I don't mind hovering here temporarily, but we really just need to move into the side lane at this point. Okay, and we end up dying. All right, we'll go forward a little bit further here. See if there's anything else that we can see. Well played. I don't really agree with grouping mid here after this play. The play is done. Why are we on mid? Exactly, yeah, just move straight back to bot here.
Wanted to push with the Herald.
Yeah, but this, like, we're talking 18 minutes here, right? Like, getting mid tier 2, dropping bot waves to get mid tier 2 and even mid tier 3 is not really that valuable at this point of the game. What I'd much rather do is just move into bot, get these bot waves, not share XP. You can easily get this bot tower, get the next bot wave, and that will actually be more gold as a team, because your team doesn't need you for this tower. They don't need you for tier 2, so we can just be getting other stuff during the meantime. And what that's also going to do is it's also going to create a lot of pressure, because you're going to force someone to respond to this bot wave as well. After you take bot tier 2, tier 1, you push this bot wave, you can then even just reset and open up top lane and play top lane as a team, right? But now no one is being forced to react on the bot side here. And yeah, this was overall kind of like a bit of an overstay of tempo, I would say. Yeah, and as a result, we kind of get cleaned up afterwards. And now look, our tempo as a team is fucked for the Dadicon.
The Otacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind getting into top here. I think it's going to be quite hard to do anything on bot side. And we even attract pressure there, so I don't mind getting into the top side there. Nice.
CC'd so long,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Things get a little bit messy. I think it's best we just go back. So I can tell there are some sloppy macro concepts. Like your understanding of your tempo is not the best in mid game. Some of your lane assignments and your understanding of the side lane. Well, there are some sloppy elements here. But I don't think that's actually what's making mid game difficult for you at the moment. If I think about your gameplay and I extrapolate it over 1,000 games, and I think what is going to be challenging you the most over 1,000 games, to me it comes down to two things. Okay? Very simply. Actually, three things. So, first of all, number one is going to be usage of lull states and calibration. Number two is going to be objectives. Actually, no. Sorry. What I would say, this is going to be more like uptime. And then number three is going to be some ability usage. So, if we're talking about the first one here, lull state and calibration. Very simply, at the moment, your lane phase looks fine. Your mechanics look good, I would say. Your understanding of your limits looks good. But we're not progressing the game. We're not like translating our leads to make the game better. It's just like we're getting really strong and then we're putting ourselves in these fights. And if we win the fights, we win the game, kind of thing. But there's no real like strategy to what fights we're in. What I want you to do is I want you to have a very clear idea of the next objective. Because this is Irelia's biggest strength in the early game, is actually her ability to have prio and her strength post 6 in these skirmishes at objectives. Especially if we're, getting early kills, if we're getting early advantages in the 1v1, that's just going to make it even easier for us to be in these fights and skirmishes. So I want you to have a very clear idea of the next objective that's coming up. And I want you to communicate this very heavily and just really emphasize playing for these objectives. And in correlation with this, I also, with this awareness of the next objective, I want you to actively play with the idea of when that objective is up and you've communicated it heavily with your team, just pushing the wave, even in the early game, if you have a favorable lane state, it's actually more impactful to just push, be at the objective, fighting the objective, than it is to like leverage your, a freeze on your side of the lane, right? Because again, the way I want you to think about this is we use uptime, we use trades, we use solo kills to get strong. But the end goal with that strength is actually to win fights at objectives. Does that make sense?
Because that's how you actually like win the game, is getting objectives.
Exactly.
And my champion falls off like extremely hard. Like I have to get that like game insurance.
Exactly. And it's not even 100% about the objectives. It's a lot of it is actually about the fight set objectives, right? Because if you're always playing the 1v1, all you can get is 1 kill. But if you push and move and you have R at a Grubs fight, we even saw this game, right? You would have gotten 3 kills at the Grubs if we just played around the Grubs.
And then suddenly the game's like way easier as well, because then we have more pushing power, we have more sideline pressure.
Exactly. So I also want you to actively be thinking about your resets around these objectives as well. Resetting a minute before Grubs. Resetting a minute before Drake. Just so that if we want to contest them, of course, right? Because you're not always going to contest these objectives. But I would say 90% of games, if you're planning your resets well, if you're pushing and you're there at the objective and you have ult, Grubs are contestable 90% of the time as Irelia.
Right. Would you just always reset look to reset about a minute before the objective?
It's not always going to be the same, but I would kind of play with that rough guideline and then adapt if necessary to the game state.
Right.
I also, in these low states, I also want you to be thinking about who you want to fight with. So
right, Irelia Sejuani is so strong a
combo. Exactly, spot on. That's exactly what I was thinking, right? Because this game especially, you have a very strong 3v3 on top side, right? Level 6, Irelia Sejuani Kayle is very strong, even though this guy isn't, super strong. If in a fight you have that Kayle ult, you're fighting with the Sejuani, you're an unkillable beast in those fights.
Right, and then everybody's just going to get CC'd to hell.
Exactly. So for these, I'm thinking about like my strong members or members that I can take fights with. Right, now for the uptime. I want you to just give a different approach to lane for these Azir types of matchups. And the way I would put it is, give your opponents the rope to hang themselves.
Right.
You didn't give the Azir the opportunity to push the wave. And that's really what I'm looking for in these weak early game matchups, is I'm looking for Azir to push the wave himself. And I'm always going to give him that opportunity level 1. If he opts to not push the wave, as he should, if he's playing the matchup absolutely correctly, where he's not autoing the wave, he's not pushing, he's just letting the wave sit in neutral state, then you can look to bounce the wave. But always your first go-to for this matchup, and many similar matchups, Victor, Orianna, Swain, these types of, immobile mages, always just give them the opportunity to push the wave.
Right, because then they'll be overextended and I can all in them.
Exactly. That's just bouncing the wave, if you think about it, the wave at minimum is going to be at your tower or in a good position, level 3, level 4, right? Whereas if you just let them push, it can be there as early as level 2. So you just have more waves to potentially take trades on them. You have more time of the game where they are under threat from your trades.
Right. Especially with how just sticky Irelia can be. You can just jump on somebody and then it's like, oh, I landed E, my Q's back up, you're not getting away.
Exactly. Yes. Spot on. Exactly. Then finally, for your ability usage, I want you to just think a little bit more, have more intention with your E and your W.
Right. My W, I know my W use is just bad.
Yes. To me, the problem with your W usage is there's not really an intention there, right? If we think about use cases for the W, there's like tanking damage, buffering CC, thinning minions, using it when you're out of range of auto attacks, like at the end of the trade to finish them off. There's tanking tower. There are so many uses of this W that.
And then I use it for literally the worst one, which
use it for like 68 damage when you're in range to auto attack, right?
I use it for a bit of burst and a conqueror stack. Yeah, great job.
Exactly, right? So I just want you to, even in your reviews, really looking at your even in your post games reviews, I want you to go to these skirmishes and really look at your W and E usage. Like hyper focus on those.
Right.
And then in game, really try and have a lot of intention with your W and E.
Mm-hmm.
Actively have intention of how you want to use these in fights.
Right.
Does all of this make sense?
Yes. Yep. 100%. I've kind of known that my W's have been bad. I just old habits die hard, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about my E as much though, and that's what I definitely want to personally focus on, is just how I'm using my E. Yeah. I learned how to dry Q, as you say, not because it's good, but because I'm like, screw it, I'm not landing the E anyway, I'm just gonna jump on them.
Right? Yeah. I mean that, like, but that can at the highest level, that is having a lot of intention with the E. It's like, all right, I'm gonna dry Q, I'm just gonna get my auto attacks in, and then I'm gonna hold that E and wait for the correct moment. Because when you can go in with a dry Q is not necessarily the correct moment to go in with an E. Right? They're different use cases. So having, like, dry queuing is an example of patience with your E, or knowing that you don't have to use the E, so you're not going to use it until there's a very clear moment to use it.